All right, this is round 8 of James Toney versus Mike McCallum. So James is going to get to his lead foot. He'll pendulum, then throw out a jab. Okay, James will swing this rear foot around, and once it lands, he's going to fire out a jab. And note this rear hand parry by Mike. Now I love this. They're both going to drop, expecting the rear cross to come. Then Mike's going to go ahead and push off this rear foot, fold out a jab, looking for a rear hook to the body. And then James is going to counter with this uppercut hook. Now James is going to follow him back with another uppercut. And then Mike's going to throw a jab. We're going to see James drop underneath it right here. Now, James gets back to this lead foot. Mike doesn't do anything. He's going to move to his rear foot, and then he's going to slip back in as Mike looks for his counter jab. And then he's going to throw this leaping hook. Now James will jab as Mike parries and pulls. Then Mike's going to go ahead and push off this rear foot, double up his jab, and notice James as he pulls, then drops. And then James is going to come back, and he's going to double up, and you're going to check out the parry pull by Mike. So there's the parry and the pull. They'll time each other, and James will fold out one more. All right, this is slick. Mike's going to go ahead and feint low and check out the down parry by James. Then he's going to go ahead and go up top. Now James is going to jab. Check out this parry by Mike. James will jab again as Mike pulls, looks for his counter, and check out this rear hand parry by James. So they'll look to time each other with their leads. Now James is going to follow up with a rear cross while Mike looks for his double jab. Now Mike's going to triple it up. Another jab by Mike right here. They'll time each other again, and James will throw one more. Okay, James will jab as Mike does a lead hand down parry. He's going to follow up looking for the hole in Mike's low guard right here. Mike's going to go ahead and double up his jab, and we're going to see James look to parry and pull, getting caught with his jab, and then James is going to drop straight down. He's going to come back with his own jab as Mike pulls, then drops. Mike's going to go ahead and fire his triple jab, but let's hone in on James. The first thing he did is pulled. Now he's going to drop, go in to his lead foot, bob down off of his lead foot, and weave to his rear foot. And then again, he's going to find that hole in Mike's low guard. Now this is neat by James. Mike's going to go ahead and fold out his jab, then follow up with a rear hook to the body. Now James is going to go ahead and catch it and then counter with his rear uppercut. Then they're going to go ahead and time each other with their leads. All right, Mike's going to flash his lead as James looks to parry right here. Now Mike's going to go to the body, and James is going to go ahead and catch it, and then he's going to counter out, and we'll see Mike drop right here. He's going to get back to his lead foot, fold out his jab. Then Mike's going to push off, double jab as James drops, then pulls, then he's going to go in. So James will jab as Mike looks to parry right here. Now Mike's going to go ahead and double up his jab, and we're going to see James pull first, then he's going to drop. Then they're going to look to time each other, and then a little bit of movement. Okay, James will jab as Mike parries. Now James is going to go to the body. We're going to see Mike drop straight down. Mike's going to go ahead and jab. We're going to see a parry by James. Then James is going to go high. Mike looks to counter, and now James is going to go to that body. Mike's going to push off his rear foot, snapping off his jab as James parries and pulls. Now James will go high as Mike looks low. Mike looks to jab as James pulls right here, and then James is going to jab as Mike pulls, and then they'll tack on that same beat. All right, this is neat. James is going to get his head to his lead foot, throw a leaping cross as Mike pulls. And one thing to note, notice Mike's shoulders. They're square, so when he pulls, it allows him to fire off this jab as James lands. Now, Mike's going to fire off another jab, and we're going to see James pull to his rear foot right here, and then he's going to come back and catch Mike with his rear cross. Now he's going to bob down over his lead foot as Mike looks for his own counter rear hand. Then James is going to catch this hook from Mike and then counter out with his rear cross, and we're going to see Mike drop right here. Super slick. So James will jab, and Mike's going to slip in, putting his head over his lead foot, looking for this hook to the body. Now, if accurate, James would have caught it and then countered out with his overhand as Mike bobs down over that lead foot. Then Mike will jab as James pulls. Okay, they'll look to time each other with their leads. Now James will jab as Mike parries, keeping the shoulder square, which allows him to fire off this counter jab. Now James pulls. Now Mike gets stuck on this lead foot. He's going to get caught with this rear cross from James. Now Mike looks to counter when he sees James pull to his rear foot. Now James is going to come back again. We're going to see Mike bob down over his lead foot. And now they're in this 50-50 position. Mike looks to hook high as James looks low. And then James again, he's going to go high, but check out the rear hand cover by Mike. And then Mike's going to go ahead and jab as James looks to parry and pull. All right, Mike's going to snap off this jab as James parries. Then Mike's going to go ahead and double up his jab, and we're going to see James slip inside to this lead foot. Then he's going to drop down right here off that second jab. And then Mike's going to go ahead and time James right here. So Mike will throw his jab rear cross, and we're going to see James pull, then drop. James will jab as Mike parries. Now Mike's going to go ahead and fold out a jab, and then check this out. So James pulls, then drops, and Mike's going to follow him back with this lead hook. Now James is going to explode out with an overhand, then leaping hook, and then rear hook. Now James will catch him with this little hook right here, follow up with a rear cross, and we're going to see Mike drop, then a little tie up. Now Mike's going to go ahead and pendulum, use this lead hand for control, and then throw this rear hook to the body, and then he's going to look for a little hook up top, and then we're going to get some movement. All right, Mike's going to jab, throw this rear hook to the body as James parries, pulls, and then he's going to catch that hook. So Mike's going to feint this jab as James pulls. Then Mike's going to go to the body. James is going to catch it right here and then counter out with his overhand as Mike drops. They're going to go ahead and trade some body shots. Then Mike's going to go ahead and throw his hook rear cross as James pulls, then drops. And then James is going to go ahead and counter out with this rear straight. Now James is going to go ahead and throw his lead hook as Mike bobs down on that lead foot. Then Mike's going to throw his lead, then rear hook. James is going to throw his lead, and then Mike's going to come back with another lead hook, then bob under this rear straight from James. Okay, Mike's going to bring this rear foot behind him and then step his lead foot to replace his rear foot while hooking his right arm around his waist to step right around. And he's going to look for this lead uppercut. He's going to pull from this cross from James and then counter out with his own uppercut as James pulls. Mike will fold out a jab as James slips to that lead foot. Mike will double up his jab, rear cross, as James looks to counter with his uppercut. And one thing to note the bob by Mike. Mike will throw his lead hook, then go to the body. James catches it and then counters out with his rear cross as Mike drops and then looks for his rear hook to the body. Now James is going to jab as Mike parries, and then he's going to come back with his lead as James pulls. Then Mike's going to throw his rear hook, lead hook, and then he's going to go up top in the same sequence. Rear hook, lead hook. All right, Mike's going to throw his jab, rear hook to the body as James pulls, then drops. Then he's going to go ahead and throw a double lead uppercut. James is going to catch both them, and then James is going to pull to his rear foot, getting away from Mike's rear cross, and then he's going to counter, or James will, with his rear hand. Mike will look for his lead hook, rear hook. James again looks for his rear hand counter. Then James will throw his jab, rear cross as Mike parries, then drops. And this is a nice little sequence. Mike's going to throw his rear cross, leaping hook. James caught that leaping hook, and then he's going to counter out with his own hook. Then James will look for the body. Then he's going to fold out a jab. Then he's going to throw a jab, rear cross as Mike drops. And that will do it for round 8.